You open the kitchen cabinet to grab baking ingredients. Right in front of you are 2 packets of powder that look exactly the same. Transparent, colorless, odorless, almost invisible. One packet is labeled Gelatin, the other is labeled Agar-Agar. You stir both into warm water, pour them into molds, and wait for a small miracle. The liquid sets. A few hours later, the 2 molds give different results. One mold turns into a soft mixture that melts like panna cotta. The other sets hard as soon as it cools, firm at room temperature, neat enough to slice. So why do 2 ingredients that look similar create 2 completely different worlds? What causes this difference? By the end, you'll have a 5-second rule that tells you which one to use without guessing. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. The origin story: bones versus sea. To understand the difference, start at the source, because every simple ingredient behaves like what it's made of. Gelatin is animal-based. It begins as collagen, the structural protein found in connective tissue, skin, bones, cartilage. Through extraction and heat, that tough structure breaks down into gelatin, which can then be dried into powder or sheets. It's the ingredient behind the gentle jiggle of gummies and the quiet stability of panna cotta. Agar-Agar comes from the sea. It's plant-based, extracted from red algae, seaweed that has been part of Asian food traditions for centuries. Those algae are processed to yield a polysaccharide-rich substance that forms a gel as it cools. Even the name carries geography. Agar-Agar traces through Malay and Japanese kitchens. 2 clear powders, 2 different materials hiding under the same look. And that origin doesn't just shape texture. It also quietly decides who can eat what you make. Who can eat it? The invisible line on the table. Because gelatin is derived from animals, it isn't suitable for vegetarians or vegans. And for many religious diets, it's only acceptable when produced and certified in specific ways. 2 people can look at the same jelly dessert and quietly have different options. The recipe doesn't change on the page, but the audience changes in real life. Agar-Agar, being derived from seaweed, naturally fits vegetarian and vegan diets. For some cooks, that's the entire reason agar enters the kitchen, not to upgrade gelatin, but to make the dish shareable. But once you make the swap, you notice the second reason. The gel doesn't feel the same. Your mouth notices before your brain explains. And that's where the real story begins. Not in the label, but in the structure. 2 structures, 2 feelings. Gelatin sets into a gel that is soft and elastic. It yields to a spoon, jiggles when you nudge the plate, and feels gentle as you eat it. As it cools, dissolved gelatin proteins form a flexible network that traps water. Flexible is the key. The network can stretch a little before it gives. That stretch is what people describe as creamy, even when the dessert contains no cream at all. Agar-Agar forms a gel that is firmer and more brittle. It holds clean lines and prefers structure over wobble. Instead of stretching, it tends to break more sharply. That's why agar jellies can be sliced into neat cubes, stacked in layers, and still look like they meant it. Neither is better. They create different experiences. The mistake is expecting the same comfort from both. But texture is only half the personality test. Temperature is where these ingredients reveal their true rules. Why one needs the fridge and the other doesn't. Gelatin doesn't fully set until it cools, which is why many gelatin desserts live in the refrigerator. More importantly, gelatin melts near body temperature. That is its secret. It can hold on the plate, then turn silky on your tongue. The moment it warms, the network relaxes, and the dessert seems to dissolve into itself. Agar-Agar sets around room temperature and has a much higher melting point. In practical terms, that means it stays solid on a warm day without refrigeration. It can sit on a table during conversation and still look like it did when you unmolded it. That stability is why agar shines in structural jobs. Layered jellies, fruit gels you want to slice, desserts that need to travel. So gelatin is ideal when you want softness, mousse, marshmallows, panna cotta. Agar is ideal when you want clean structure. Picture a buffet table. The gelatin cups arrive glossy and perfect, but 20 minutes under warm lights and the edges begin to slump. The agar cubes, meanwhile, keep their corners like they have a spine. Neither is wrong. They're just built for different rooms, different timelines, different kinds of patience, and different expectations from your guests. And then comes the kitchen mystery. You do everything right, and still the gel fails. This is the moment many people blame themselves. The "I did everything right" failure. Imagine you're making a pineapple jelly. You measure carefully. You bloom the gelatin. You chill it overnight. Morning comes. It's still soup. That failure often has a culprit: enzymes. Gelatin is a protein, and certain fruits, pineapple and kiwi are classic, contain enzymes that break proteins down. If those enzymes are active in your mixture, gelatin may never set properly. It's not the sourness, it's the biology. Agar-Agar, being carbohydrate-based, is much less sensitive to that specific enzyme problem. That doesn't make agar interchangeable in every recipe, but it does make some fruit combinations far more forgiving. Now we reach the trap that ruins substitutions even when you picked the right ingredient. Technique. 2 clear powders, 2 different activation rituals. Agar is stronger, and it must be awakened. A common rule of thumb is that agar is more potent than gelatin. Many cooks use significantly less agar to reach a similar firmness, sometimes roughly 1/3 as much. But don't treat that like a law. Treat it like a warning. Start small, because agar commits. Potency, however, is only half the story. Activation is the bigger one. Gelatin is typically dissolved in warm liquid and then sets as it cools. Agar-Agar usually needs to be boiled to activate properly. You can't just stir it into something merely warm and expect it to behave. It wants a real boil so it dissolves evenly. Then it gels decisively as it cools. That's why agar can feel fast. Once cooling begins, it sets with confidence. Once you understand that, many failures stop being mysteries. They become mismatches between method and material. At this point, people often ask one more thing: is one healthier? The honest answer is quieter than the internet makes it sound. A brief, honest note. Gelatin comes from collagen, so it provides amino acids and shows up in conversations about joints, skin, and gut comfort. Whether those benefits matter depends on context and quantity, but the identity is clear. Gelatin is protein-derived. Agar-Agar is used in tiny amounts, but it's mostly soluble fiber and nearly calorie-free at those doses. That fiber can support digestive regularity. Still, in real recipes, nutrition is rarely the deciding factor. You choose these ingredients for function and for feel. And now, the turning point you asked for, because agar's most surprising role is not on a dessert plate at all. It's in a laboratory. How agar made modern microbiology possible. In the late 19th century, microbiologists needed a stable, solid surface to grow bacteria. They wanted colonies to form as distinct dots so they could be separated observed, and studied. Gelatin seemed promising, until heat got involved. Many microbes grow best in warmer conditions. But gelatin melts at temperatures that are too close to that warm range. A culture could literally liquefy its own surface. A plate that starts solid can become a puddle, and puddles don't preserve boundaries. Agar solved that problem in one quiet stroke. Because it stays solid at higher temperatures, temperatures where gelatin would melt, it could remain firm inside an incubator. That meant a stable platform where colonies could appear, spread, and stay separated. In other words, the same property that lets agar jelly hold its shape on a summer table also lets scientists keep order in a dish. This is part of how the iconic Petri dish became iconic. A simple, repeatable way for invisible life to leave visible traces. So agar isn't just the vegan gelatin. It's a reminder that a kitchen material can become a scientific tool when one physical property, staying solid, matters enough. Now let's bring everything back to your cabinet and compress it into something you can use in 5 seconds. The 5-second rule. 2 questions, 1 reminder. First question: do you need a plant-based option for vegetarians, vegans, or dietary rules that avoid animal ingredients? If yes, choose Agar-Agar. Second question: what experience do you want? If you want soft, elastic, melt-in-your-mouth wobble, choose gelatin. If you want firm, sliceable structure that stays solid at room temperature, choose Agar-Agar. One reminder that prevents the most common mistake: agar must be boiled to activate, while gelatin sets by cooling. Two powders, 2 histories, 1 honest kitchen. In the end, gelatin versus agar-agar isn't a debate about which is better. It's a reminder that ingredients carry their nature quietly. 2 clear powders can look identical and still behave like different species, because that's what they are. One is protein, built to melt near your body. The other is a carbohydrate, built to hold firm even as the room warms. And maybe that's the point. Cooking feels like magic because we watch liquid become solid and call it simple. But the real wonder is that the simplicity is earned by centuries of culture, by biology hidden in plain sight, and by curiosity that finds the same gel in a dessert mold and a laboratory dish. So the next time you open your cabinet and see those identical packets, don't just ask which one works. Ask what kind of ending you want, the melt or the stand. And I'm curious, when you make jelly desserts, do you love gelatin for that soft, melt-in-your-mouth wobble? Or agar-agar for that clean, sliceable set that holds its shape? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind everyday ingredients, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next small secret.